What's up, everybody? Phil Blackman with barbend.com. Today we are going to cover the most memorable moments from the 2021 World's Strongest Man competition. If you want to see any of our coverage from that historic event, just head over to Google, type in Barbend World's Strongest Man, and all of that coverage is going to come up. There were a lot of memorable moments from the 2021 World's Strongest Man contest. Both the qualifying stage and the finals provided their fair share of moments that will be featured in highlight reels for years to come. From Tom Stoltman becoming the first Scotsman to win the title to multiple records getting shattered, let's get into it. First up, we have the heartbreaking tiebreaker that knocked out the 2020 World's Strongest Man, Oleksii Novikov. Both Novikov and Stoltman were tied for the lead in Group 5 heading into the final event of the qualifying stage, the pickaxe hold. Luke Stoltman and Novikov previously squared off in the Fingles Fingers and the overhead medley events, both of which Novikov got the upper hand. Before the pickaxe hold face-off, the presumption was that the winner of the heat would also win their group. When Luke Stoltman edged out Novikov for the win, the Scotsman jumped for joy in the lifting area because surely he'd won the group and Novikov would face USA's Bobby Thompson in the stone-off, right? Wrong. Bobby Thompson and Kevin Ferris's pickaxe hold times were both better than Stoltman's and Novikov's, and that meant that Thompson leapt to the top of the standings with 18 points to match Stoltman and left Ferris and Novikov tied at 17 points. However, the known tiebreaker coming into that event was the pickaxe hold times, and since Thompson won the event, he was named the winner of the group. Additionally, since Ferris's pickaxe hold time was better than Novikov's by just over 2 seconds, the World's Strongest Man champion from the year prior dropped into 4th position and was eliminated from the contest. Hopping to the end of the contest, let's get right into Tom Stoltman versus Brian Shaw in the Atlas Stones in what the announcer called a shoot-off for the title. Only Tom Stoltman and Brian Shaw heading into the last event were still in contention to win the title of World's Strongest Man. Tom Stoltman had a 1-point lead over Shaw coming into the event, but that no longer mattered. If Shaw beat Tom, the two would have been tied in points, but the fastest Atlas Stone time was the tiebreaker, so it was a winner-take-all situation. It was obviously the highest stakes moment of the entire competition. Despite having 4 World's Strongest Man titles to his name, Shaw was somehow the underdog against Tom Stoltman, who is not only the world record holder in the Atlas Stones, but he hadn't lost the event in over 2 years. With a speed that slack-jawed onlookers, Stoltman blazed through all 5 stones in an event-winning 20.21 seconds. His strategy, whether it was premeditated or improvised, was lifting the first 2 stones directly from the floor to their respective pedestals without lapping them first. It was an incredible move. Nobody was expecting it, and it shaved a significant number of seconds off of Stoltman's time, and he was rewarded with his first World's Strongest Man title. Shaw ended up finishing the Atlas Stones event in 3rd place with a time of 31.45 seconds and finishing overall as the runner-up. But that's not all Shaw had going on at the World's Strongest Man contest. Let's get into the keg toss. Brian Shaw had the world record keg toss of 7.25 meters coming into the keg toss event in the finals. The height of the 3rd round of tosses was 7.26 meters, meaning that whoever scored it would have set a new world record. Konstantin Janashia was the first strongman to step up and break that record. World record territory, however, became quickly crowded in this event because Maxime Boudreau matched Janashia, and then Tom Stoltman came up and matched both of them, and then Brian Shaw came up and matched all 3 of those guys. So they all advanced to the next round of keg tosses when the bar was raised to 7.5 meters. Janashia unable to get that one, but the other 3 guys all secured 7.5 meters to break the record again. It wasn't until the bar was raised to 7.75 meters, a full half meter above the world record coming in, that both Boudreau and Stoltman could no longer toss a keg high enough. However, Shaw successfully regained his position as the sole holder of the keg toss world record on his 2nd attempt, and notably, it was done after his first attempt ricocheted off the bar and fell down and hit him in the arm. It was a GOAT performance by the GOAT strongman, and he sets a new world record keg toss. Incredible performance by Brian Shaw. Let's talk about the train pull event that ended up becoming a train push event. 50 metric tons. That is how much weight competitors were expected to move in the train pull event while enduring triple-digit Sacramento heat. Johnny Hansson of Sweden was the first strongman to attempt to move the locomotive. He exerted himself for approximately a minute before conceding that the train was just too heavy to move. However, it was discovered after his run that the train's brakes were still engaged. 50 metric tons with the brakes on? Are you kidding? Once the brakes were released, Evan Singleton hopped in, and he too was still unable to budge the locomotive. After an hour, the event was changed to a train push rather than a train pull. The cargo car was released, leaving only 20 tons of train left to move, and in a feat of narrative justice, Hansson was given a second attempt, the final attempt of the event, and he scored a winning time of 35.36 seconds. Ultimately, he didn't make the finals, but this was a moment that will live forever in World's Strongest Man history. Really impressive performance by Hansson in the train push. And finally, this is less of a moment and more of a clarification for the history books, but the final leaderboard does not properly reflect just how competitive the World's Strongest Man finals were this year. Tom Stoltman and Brian Shaw were the only two men in competition for the title heading into the Atlas Stones, but 5 men were still competing for third place heading into that event. Janashia, Boudreaux, Luke Stoltman, Trey Mitchell, and JF Caron, all those guys were still in contention to land on the podium with only one event left. At the end of the day, history will show Luke Stoltman, he ranked 7th overall at the 2021 World's Strongest Man contest. However, had he beaten Boudreaux in the Atlas Stones heat instead of the other way around, he would have been on the podium. Likewise, who knows how much faster JF Caron would have been had he been able to load 5 stones if he didn't have a 15mm vertical tear in his hamstring that he'd been competing on for a day and a half. If Trey Mitchell had lasted just one more round in the keg toss, it's possible he would have lifted the bronze trophy overhead. Konstantin Janashia was perhaps a deadlift rep or two, or maybe a single Atlas Stone away from a podium finish himself. The most memorable moment of the 2021 World's Strongest Man contest was arguably just how strong every competitor on this roster really was. And it's unique for a sport to be full of athletes who want to see their competition succeed at all times. They helped each other overcome injuries, pushed each other out of their comfort zones, lifted each other up, and cheered each other on. Camaraderie may not boil down to a single moment, but in the case of the 2021 World's Strongest Man contest, it was the most memorable nonetheless. I'm Phil Bleckman for barbend.com. Thanks for watching.